So today I want to do a little bit of a review of Jodo Shinshu. I will open up the floor to kind of any questions that you might have later. But today I kind of want to take on some of the kind of key kind of points of Buddhism or Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. You know, when I was younger and I used to go to temple, I would wonder, I would hear random names that I don't really know or these stories that I didn't know until later on when I was studying at IBS, and I realized, you know, how come this doesn't get talked about more at the on the Sunday services, right? This should be kind of discussed a little bit more in detail. So I would like to kind of do that, take this time to do that right now. Okay. So if you get bored and tired, please feel free to go to sleep. I will not get mad. Okay. But this is just a quick review. Okay. Quick review. I won't take too long. So the three, if you go to other temples, other onaijin, okay, there will be in the center here, kind of a sometimes there's what's called a daiban. There's a place to sit, and then there's in front of that there's three scrolls. Actually, there's four, but there's it's three scrolls. Okay, one has two parts to it. Okay, and then do you know what these scrolls represent? Okay, hi. Oh yeah, sutras. Okay, these are sutras. These are called the Jodo-kyo, the Pure Land Sutras. So it is said that Shakyamuni Buddha taught Hachiman Shisen no Oshe, 84,000 teachings. And out of the 84,000, the Pure Land teachings look at the three main ones that talk about the Pure Land and Amida Buddha's Pure Land. And these are the Larger Sutra, the Contemplation Sutra, and then the smaller sutra. We just chanted a portion of the smaller sutra today, okay? It's longer than that. It goes a little bit longer. But today I want to focus on the larger sutra because Shinran Shoni considered this one to be, of the three, the most important, okay? The larger sutra is the most important, Daikyo, otherwise known as Busetsu Muryo Jukyo, okay? In this story, there is a mythological story that takes place in this story, okay? A lot of people don't know this, but there's a mythological story, and it involves a person by the name of Dharmakara, okay? Dharmakara. He was a prince, okay? And he was destined to be the king, and he was a really smart, very athletic person. He was good looking. He got the best training, right? But he saw the suffering of all sentient beings and wanted to find a path to spiritual liberation for all these sentient beings. Okay, so does this story sound kind of familiar to you? It does, right? It sounds kind of familiar. It sounds like the story of Shakyamuni Buddha, who lived and walked this earth. And that's true. In Mahayana Buddhism, it is said that all Buddhas undergo the same path to this kind of what is life kind of, you know, question. This it's called the 8 stages or 8 events of a Buddha's life. Okay, so all Buddhas go through the same kind of stages to get to embark on the path. So then Dharmakara establishes these 48 vows, these promises that he will practice to become a Buddha and to create his own Pure Land, okay? And so Amida Buddha's Pure Land is the most exquisite Pure Land because the Bombu, or the person who has attachments, can go to this Pure Land, okay? In other Pure Lands, you have to do practices, what's called practice. You have to be a sage. You have to be cleansed and have no more blind passions. And then you get to go to that Pure Land. But in Amida Buddha's Pure Land, even the Bombu can go to this Pure Land. And that is why it is considered the most virtuous, okay, the highest supreme Pure Land, okay? So anyway, Dharmakara sets out these vows, the 48 vows, and then he goes to his teacher, Lokeshvararaja Buddha, okay? These are all Sanskrit terms, so they have hard names, okay? Lokeshvararaja, can you say that with me? Lokeshvararaja, okay? So that's Dharmakara's teacher, Lokeshvararaja Buddha. So Lokeshvararaja Buddha teaches him about all the Buddha lands and how to become a Buddha. So Dharmakara then goes to do these practices, and he creates this Pure Land. He fulfills the vows, okay? So after he completes these vows, he becomes Amida Buddha. So Amida Buddha in the center here has a previous name, and that previous name was, in Japanese, it's Hozo Bosatsu. It's Dharmakara Bodhisattva. Okay, Dharmakara Bodhisattva. So this is a mythological story that takes place in the Larger Sutra. And I say mythological purposely here. When a lot of times when we think of the word myth, we think of in our English, common English language, we think of it as some like a fake story, or that it didn't, that it there's it's a, you know, untrue story. But I'm using the sense of the word in the sense that it is a story that is symbolizing something much more profound. It is pointing to a truth, okay, the truth of the Buddha Dharma. So the story is supposed to be taken not literally, it's supposed to be taken figuratively, in the sense that it is trying to get us to understand that there is a world of truth beyond what we can understand. And that world of truth is the Onenbutsu teaching, okay? So there's Shakyamuni Buddha, and then there's Amida Buddha. Okay, Shakyamuni Buddha, Amida Buddha. And you might be wondering, what's the relationship between these two, right? Shakyamuni Buddha and Amida Buddha. But Shakyamuni Buddha lived and walked this earth 2,500 years ago. He was a human being like us, okay? But he became Buddha, an awakened one. But Amida Buddha is not a physical person, right? It is, it is depicted as a person, but it is actually the principle of wisdom and compassion. Okay, that is what it is trying to depict. Okay, so I'd like to show you something that will help to kind of hopefully clarify what I'm talking about here. I want to share with you a screen. Is this coming up, everybody? You can see it. Okay. Okay, good. All right. All right. Let me move this. Okay, so I want to talk to you about the differences between a Buddha, the Buddha, and Buddha. Okay, there are the differences of these three. Okay, a Buddha wa shakson nandesu. It's one example of a Buddha who has emerged out of the world of truth and emerged in this world, right? So we know him as Shakyamuni Buddha, the person who, as this picture shows, went under the Bodhi tree, meditated, and then attained awakening. And then the person on the right is the Brahma king, or Brahma god, Hindu god, who asks Shakyamuni Buddha, please, can you teach this teaching to all sentient beings? And so Shakyamuni Buddha then teaches it, and his first disciples are the first 5 disciples that kicked him out of their group, and so then they become his key disciples. Okay, so this is Shakson, who lived in ancient India. This is an example of a Buddha. Okay, one example of a Buddha. And then here is the next one, the Buddha. Okay, the Buddha is referring to Amida Buddha. Okay, it is, here's an example of a statue of Amida Buddha, the 48 spokes, they're representing the 48 vows, right? And then he is all golden. He's standing on a lotus, we call it lotus dais, or lotus flower. Okay, so this is the picture of the Buddha here. Okay, those aren't wings in his back. Okay, those are it's supposed to be like the flame that supports him, or the light, in other words, light that supports him. Okay, and then but he's not depicted just as a human figure. It is also depicted using kanji, using words, characters. Namo Amida Butsu is Buddha. Okay, Namo Amida Butsu. When we say Namo Amida Butsu, the Buddha is emerging from our mouths. Okay, we are not Buddha, but Buddha is coming out of our mouths to tell us that there is a world of truth. Okay, so that's, and then here's on the right here another example, Amida Nyorai Butsu Ryuzo. Okay, so it's a standing Buddha, Amida Buddha. Okay, just FYI, we always have our central object of reverence, which we call in Japanese Gohonzon, is always a standing Buddha. Okay, it is never a sitting Buddha. And there's a reason for this, okay? And the reason for that is because the Buddha is standing to come to us, okay? To come embrace us. Okay? And that's why the Buddha is always standing. So the Buddha is never sitting and saying, you come over here, right? The Buddha is always standing to say, I'm going to you. That's why we always use a standing Buddha as our central object of reverence, okay? Okay, and so here's the hardest part now. Okay, Buddha, just Buddha, no pronoun or no place marker here, just Buddha. Okay, and this is supposed to represent immeasurable wisdom and compassion, but there is no picture of this, right? It is just a blank space, and the reason for that is because our minds cannot comprehend what Buddha is, true Buddha is. Okay, it is out of our parameters of understanding. So, well, how do we then understand this Buddha? How do we understand Buddha? And it says at the bottom here, refer back to the previous page. Okay. So this is the representation of Buddha, of truth. Okay. And it takes form as Amida Buddha, as Namo Amida Butsu. Okay. That's how we understand absolute truth, the principle of wisdom and compassion. ですから Buddha is not a god, okay? In our understanding, Buddha is not a deity. We don't pray to Buddha. ここに立って拝むとき or 合唱するとき when we 合唱 in front of the Buddha, we are not 合唱ing and praying or saying, please save me or anything like that to a deity, okay? What we are saying is we are in touch with the world of absolute truth, the world, this principle of wisdom and compassion, the principle that we depict as a human being, as no, Amida Buddha with a head and a body and these kinds of things. But it is hontoa, it is the reality of truth itself. Okay, that is what Buddha is. So I hope that wasn't too confusing. The question then, another question that I usually get is, where is Shaksong? Where is Shakyamuni Buddha in the Onaijin, right? If Amida Buddha, if Shakyamuni Buddha was the starter or the discoverer of Buddhism, why isn't he in the Onaiji, right? Is the question, right? But the answer to that is when you look at Amida Buddha, you're looking at Shakyamuni Buddha as well, right? Because the example, the chart that I just showed you, those are all examples of the same Buddha, the same one truth, right? So when you look at Amida Buddha, you're also looking at Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, that's one way to understand it. Another way to understand it is that the scrolls that I just talked to you about in the beginning, those are the Buddha's words. Those are the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. So Shakyamuni Buddha is represented in the scrolls that we see in the Onaijin. They're not in this Onaijin, but if you go to Tatoeba, like San Jose Betsuin, they have the scrolls. Other temples might have the scrolls, okay? Actually, we have a big box that has the sutras in there, but that would be our version of Shakyamuni Buddha, is how you can understand that, okay? So today that was a review of those things. I would like you to please remember the names Dharma Kara Bodhisattva, Hozo Bosatsu. Okay, that's one name. The other one is Lokeshvararaja Buddha. Can you say it together? Lokeshvararaja Buddha. Okay, and then the other one is the Larger Sutra. Okay, that we talked about today. Okay, and then next week we will touch upon the other sutras, the Contemplation Sutra, which will talk about Vaidehi, Ajata Shatru, and those other characters. And then the week after, we'll talk about the smaller sutra, Amida Kyo. Okay.